Hi, welcome to Heal Body, Mind and Spirit. My name is Dermot Farrell and today we're going to speak about why I get bored with people so quickly. It's an interesting topic because not only will we learn about why we get bored, we'll learn a few things which will help us not get bored so easily. And interestingly, in the process of curing our boredom, we also learn how to live a more fulfilling life. Because boredom is actually an indicator which is telling us something which we need to change in our life. So if we want to understand why we get bored with people so quickly, first of all we have to look at the theme of boredom and why we get bored in the first place. In order to do this, we need to look at the lives of children because children give us an interesting example of early life thinking processes. Children do get bored quickly, but also children get absorbed very easily. And to give you an idea of the absorption level, if you can remember ever having a dream that was terribly absorbing and interesting, that's the kind of interest level which young kids have. I remember when I was a young boy, maybe 8, 9, 10 years of age, myself and my older brother Brian used to play in our bedroom, and sometimes we played war games and we would play all weekend. We had a kind of a spring bed and we'd lie under the bed and pull on the strings and pretend that we were in a troop carrier. And then we had little plastic soldiers and we had a spark plug which we used as a bomb. And on those weekends we would spend 6 or 7 hours on a Saturday and 6 or 7 hours on a Sunday playing our war games. Now, total absorption, total happiness and satisfaction. This is the kind of thing which is common with kids. Like I said, kids get bored easily, but they also get absorbed. Whereas adults, we tend to get dissipated. And there's various reasons why we get dissipated. Probably the most common reason why we get dissipated is because we're so busy and have so many things to do, so many duties to perform. Especially it's part of our modern life. We have so many responsibilities. If you've got a family, you've got to raise your kids, bring to school, pay for fees, you've got to save money, investment plans, health insurance, all of this sort of stuff. And even if you don't have kids, you're still probably very busy and there's so many things to do in life, so many skills we have to focus on. I remember when I left school, work life is very easy and simple. I used to get paid on a Friday, I have a little brown envelope and I just have to live on that cash next week. Nowadays we get paid monthly and there's so many things we have to do. 20, 30 years ago you could leave school and get a job, or leave school and do one degree and get a job. Nowadays most people have to do a degree and most people have to specialise. So more and more learning, more and more things which you have to do, more and more things to focus on. We've got social media, we've got smartphones, we've got the internet, we got so many amazing things to do. And one way our life is very complex and interesting compared to the way people were living 20 or 30 years ago. But also it's like we're being pulled in so many different directions. It's hard to focus on one thing. And it's a bit like a torchlight. You know, if you have a torchlight and you get a piece of paper and you get a torch, you come close to the piece of paper and the light is very focused. But the further you go away, they're very defocused. So the way I like to think of it is that the young child is very focused because the world of the child is very small. There's mommy and daddy and maybe the brothers and sisters and the odd friend or schoolmate or whatever, but pretty much they can focus on one or two things at a time. They're very focused, and being focused makes us feel very satisfied. But the more we pull away and the more defocused we become, the more diffused we become, the more we dissipate our energy. And we become bored and we could become listless. So this is probably one of the biggest reasons why we become bored. Okay? And the complexity, if you get back to the child is very focused on what they're doing. But also the child is in many ways a slave to the parents. A child can only do what the parents tell the child to do. And as kids we look forward to a future where we are free to do what we want to do. So we can't go back to our childhood and that simplicity of living, because in order to have a fulfilled adult life we have to be free to do many things. but then we have to somehow manage and balance those things. So what we actually need is the focus of the young child with the freedom of an adult life. And we have to get that balance somehow. So how do we do it? How do we get that balance? And what exactly is this boredom telling us? Well, the thing we have to realize about boredom is really telling us about something about ourselves. So when we think of why do I get bored so quickly with people, it's really why do I get bored so quickly with myself? So really, boredom is an indicator. If you're feeling bored, what your mind is telling you is that you actually have more capacity to think, more capacity to perceive, and more capacity to feel. Okay? Your boredom is an indicator. So there's a couple of levels we can look at this. On one level, it means that you're missing something. So rather than saying, I'm bored, I don't want to be bored, it's telling us something and telling us that we might have to change something in our life. Also, it's telling us as well that maybe our focus is in the wrong direction. Let's think of new experiences. The young child becomes absorbed very easily. But also with the young child, they are free to have endless new experiences. You know, going to school on the first day is a new experience, getting a bicycle, going to a cinema, going somewhere on your own, going to some new location. It's all exciting and new. But pretty much by the time we're about 30 years of age, we've covered most of the new things. So again, things like going to college, your first job, falling in love, all these things are new. But by the age of 30, we've covered most of it. And it's hard to have an endless number of new experiences. And this can explain also why we have the 50-year-old man or the 50-year-old woman who's possibly very wealthy, but actually pretty dissatisfied with their life. Because they're craving new. But there ain't so many new things. They buy another car. Well, they bought so many cars. They buy another house. They have so many houses. They had another relationship. Well, they had so many relationships. Everything seems boring. So always remember that. When you have something for the first time, it's amazing. But first time means first time, not second time or 50th time. And so we tend to get bored by things. So we can't just keep going this way, but we can keep going this way. And this is something which we learn from this word that's bandied around nowadays, the new physics, quantum physics. It's becoming a very popular concept. And what we can learn from this idea is that the universe is more unusual than we think. And things are really about perception. Okay? We can actually have new levels of perceptions on things. Now here's an interesting thing. There are only, if we think of it this way, there's only so many experiences you can have at life. But the depth of experience is kind of endless. If we take the example of the man or woman who is fascinated by sports, for example. We take the person, say the guy, for example, who is fascinated by football, and he knows all the football results for the last 30 years. Not only does he know all the major league football results, he knows even what the small local teams are doing. How is it that a man can remember something from 1964 between two local teams? What's happened here is that he is amazed and fascinated by that sport. So much so, and so absorbing is his concentration, that he can go deep into it. So we can't always get new, but we can go deeper into our experience. And the funny thing, there is no end to how deep we can go. I'll give you a relationship example, because we're on the subject of getting bored with people. There is no end to the depth of your relationship with another person. If you're married to somebody or living with somebody for a long period of time, you'll actually find there's always new things you're finding about that person, things you never knew before. If you live long enough, there's new things you're learning about yourself, things which you never knew about yourself before. If you could live for hundreds of years, you would find that there's an endless level of depth within you. You don't really know yourself. And the process of knowing yourself is endless. So here's a couple of concepts, okay? We have metonymy, metonymous, like metony, monotony, which is boring, repetitive, the same. The endless experiences become boring after a while. But we also have metaphor. Metaphor is the deep layering effect. There is no end to metaphor. If you're craving new experiences all the time, your life is going to get boring sooner or later. But if you can get into metaphorical living, there is no end to your life. Your life can get deeper and deeper and deeper. And most people, to a degree, gain some metaphor in their life. Most people in their 20s, for example, are very excited by all sorts of new things, but get bored quickly. Most people are 50 or 60. They don't do as much, but often they have a lot of satisfaction with simple things. This is why we see the grandparents enjoying playing with the grandkids. They have a depth of understanding. Okay, so this is one thing, that we have to change our focus and start going deeper into things. Okay, so this is something, there is no end to how deep you can go. But we also have to clarify, and we have to make a few changes in our life. So our boredom is telling us something. It's telling us something is missing in our life. And part of how to get beyond boredom is to go deeper into things. But also we have to have a little bit of self-awareness. So first of all, the first major tip I would give with boredom is to take some time out for yourself and get to know yourself. Our modern society has a kind of conveyor-like living. We're so busy. We're busy as kids studying. We're busy as teenagers learning new things and also studying. And again, they're 20 studying, but also learning about new people. Then we're focused on getting a job, focused on relationships, focused on getting married or settling down. Then the kids come along. Then we're very focused on the kids. But also we're focused on things like retirement plan, saving plans for our kids, saving for a rainy day, and trying to go and have some quality of life, and running around doing 100 million things at once, going to the gym or going to the beauty parlour, taking the kids out somewhere. The kids have different interests, you have to take them to different places, trying to bring the family on a holiday, trying to buy a house, trying to buy another house, trying to buy a car, trying to save up for your retirement. And it just goes like zip, you know, from 0 to 100 in 60 seconds. But that's your life. Your life is gone like that. Boom, gone. So you can hop on the conveyor belt of life and live this generic life as determined by the advertisements that you see on the TV, and that you go to your local bank and you see ads for, you know, buy a house, buy a car and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with these things, but just remember they're generic. If you look at ads for, say, winning the lottery, for example, they'll always have the generic looking man or woman looking very happy and their flash card or flash house or sitting by the pool. These generic images, and the majority of people will enjoy having a nice car and a nice house and sitting by a pool, but you mightn't. You might enjoy something else. So the only way you're going to find out what you enjoy is to take some time out. Take some time out to get to know yourself, okay? The famous actor Larry Hagman of Dallas fame used to take a day out a week where he wouldn't talk to anybody. This is an excellent example of just taking time out, because unless you get to know what you want, you might not be satisfied. You see, let's say, for example, your relationship with your husband or wife or partner is not as good as it used to be. You might say, oh, this Dermot guy said here I should go deeper. But maybe the relationship is all wrong in the first place. And you're only going to find it out if you take some time out to get to find out who you are and what you want to do with your life and how you want to be in the world. Maybe there's things you have to change in that relationship. Okay? You might have to make relational changes. In some cases, you might have to walk away from the relationship, but making relational changes is common. And probably the biggest problem that long-term relationships face is really that both people are growing and changing, and you have to be kind of connecting. Otherwise, you grow and change separately, when you should be trying to grow and change in a way that's more or less in the same general direction. So number one is take time out to find out about yourself. There's lots of online quizzes that you can do, like psychotherapy tests to find out about your personality type. You can read books, take up hobbies. Try and do something that you like. Many of us actually spend too much time doing everything for everybody else, but we never find out what we like. Okay? And finding out that you like something doesn't mean that you no longer can hang out with your family. It just means that's something that you like. And it's good to do things that you like, because you also have a life as an individual outside your family. The second tip regarding getting bored with people is to take up a hobby. Okay? Many of us are so busy running around the place that we never actually do something that we really like to do. And there's a lot to be said be having a hobby. It gives you a lot of mental freedom, it de-stresses you, it relaxes you. It's a very good thing to go and take up a hobby. There's also another concept here. Stephen Covey, in his famous book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, noted in one of his 7 habits, I don't remember which one, but I know the title, which is called Sharpen the Saw. And his idea is that the mind gets kind of blunt, like using an old knife. The knife gets blunt after a while. So we have to sharpen the saw by activity. Say you're playing table tennis. Well, if you only play once every 6 months, you won't be so good. If you play every day, you become very good. So we have to sharpen the saw. And one of the great things about hobbies is it gives us a chance to master something. And this is a very useful concept. Remember I was saying earlier about dissipating, losing energy, losing focus. Well, our lives today are so broad and there's so many things pulling us in so many directions that it's very easy to lose our focus. A hobby is a nice way of regaining a focus, especially when you try and master the hobby. Now when I say master it, I don't mean that you have to be the best table tennis player in the world. You might be a fairly rubbish table tennis player, but you love playing table tennis, or you love soccer, you love golf, you love computer games, you love reading, you love, you love chess, you love going to the gym, you love whatever it is that you like doing. You love going for walks or something like that. Some kind of hobby that you really, really like doing. You can get better at it, and the more you get better at it, the better. Again, an example of the guy who's following sports results for years. That's a hobby. You might think that's a silly hobby, but why not? It's a hobby. He enjoys it and he remembers sports results from 40 years ago. The point is that the more you go into something, and you could even be a fan of a group or something like that, or a fan of a sports team, it doesn't really matter. What matters is the more you get into it. Remember, we're talking, this is metonymic living, okay, whatever the word is, metonymy, okay, and this is metaphors going this week deeper. Go deeper into it and master it. This is the Zen concept, Z-E-N, Zen. The Zen Buddhists have this idea that you become what you focus on. And you can go more into it, and actually everything has a potential of mastering. You can master anything you put your mind to. And in the process of mastering something, and when I mean master, not that you become the best in the world, but you become the best that you could be at that thing. In the process you gain new insights and metaphors. You gain a metaphorical living, a more in-depth living when you get into something. So sometimes we're living so much superficially that we never really get into anything. Pick something that you like, pick something that you care about, and really get into that thing. And go into that thing in an in-depth way. And you'll find new and amazing revelations. Getting back to my brother and myself, back when we were kids, my brother was fascinated in his teens and 20, still is, by motorbikes. And I got a little bit fascinated as well. And my brother used to like keeping down statistical results of the engineering dynamics of engines. And I learned a little bit about it as well. Sounds terribly boring, but believe it or not, when you look at engines and how they work and how the different performance parameters of engines, there's a whole science behind it, and it is fascinating. Okay, so I'm not telling you to take up table tennis. I'm not telling you to take up anything, but pick something that you like and get into it. And try and master, try and go so deep into it that it becomes utterly fascinating. Now your family might think you're awfully silly, okay, but you find it fascinating. And the funny thing is it sharpens your mind because you're focused on one thing, which is very difficult in our today's society. You're focused on one thing. So take time out to find out what you like. Take time out to focus on a hobby and get good at that thing. And the third thing is to give it that. Part of the difficulty in our modern life is, again, like I said, we're focused on so many things, but in the process we're not focused on any one thing. It's an interesting idea when we think that we have, say, Facebook friends on the other side of the world, but we're not even talking to our neighbour. We're sitting with our family members and our friends, but we're on our WhatsApp talking to somebody living in another continent. But we're ignoring the people right here beside us. So there's a fascination with all these gadgets, which in one way allows us to communicate to people from the other side of the world, which is fantastic, but we end up not talking to other people. I remember when I was a kid, all the kids played in the street. I don't see the kids playing in the street anymore. They're all on their computers or smartphones. Okay? So we're dissipated as a society and as individuals. So one thing we can do to help with this is to give a damn. What do I mean by give a damn? Is pick something. Like a hobby. It could be the hobby. Or it could be something like a charity or a good cause. Or some kind of interest you have. You might join a charitable group and do some service for humanity. You might join an amateur dramatics society and do a play twice a year and really put a lot of effort into that. That's an example of giving a damn. You might want to improve your local area, so you join the residence committee and do a little bit of gardening. You see what I mean? I'm not necessarily saying you have to become Mother Teresa and save the world, but you just have to pick something that you care about. Almost the same as the hobby, but the hobby is a little bit different. The hobby is, as a human being, you should take time out for yourself and have interests. But this is also caring about others. Here's a very easy one. You might be thinking, I don't really have any of these things. Here's a very simple one. How about giving a damn about your wife or your kids, your friends or your family or your loved one? When I mean give a damn, say for example you have a child. Start focusing on maybe they have a hobby and you've never really bothered focusing on it. Well, maybe put a bit of effort into their hobby. Or maybe your relationship. You might be thinking, well, I get bored. I'm so bored with my wife or my husband or my partner, my boyfriend or girlfriend. Why not focus a bit on them? See something that they're trying to improve. Maybe they're trying to improve their skills. Maybe they've got a hobby they're interested in. Maybe turn up to their sports meeting. Maybe ask them how they got on today. Take a pet subject or a pet project with somebody. Maybe you have a niece or a nephew or cousin who's struggling with something and you could help them with that something. Why not take a little bit of time out and help them maybe pass an exam or improve their table tennis or whatever it is. Interestingly, when we give a damn, when we care about somebody else or something else, we feel responsible. Okay? If you've ever coached somebody, you feel responsible and you have to focus, how am I going to help them? Not me, but them. Okay? So giving a damn, guess what? It makes your life more metaphorical. So just to quickly summate today's video, okay? We tend to get bored so easily because our life is kind of dissipated. And we need to do something about that. And boredom is telling us that we've got more capacity. On one level, we've got to get deeper into things. But in order to get deeper into things, we have to find out a little bit about ourselves and what things we like. We might be doing the wrong kind of things. We might be in the, we might have joined a group years ago that's like a hobby of ours, but doesn't really interest us. Maybe it's time to let go of that. Or we might have an interest that we've always had, but we've never gone into it deeply. So first of all, to orientate yourself in the right direction. And this is a good thing to do from time to time in your life anyway, is to get rid of things that don't really mean a lot to you anymore and focus more on things which do. We have to redo this process every few months, every couple of years on different levels. And the second thing is once you've done a bit of work in orientating yourself, the second thing is to pick a hobby or an interest, if you haven't got one, and to focus on it and getting better at it. If you already have a hobby or interest, maybe get more into it. Go into it in a deeper level. And the third thing is to give a damn, to care about somebody or something. Okay? So, back to the torch example, the young child is very focused on something. But the young child isn't free. We're very free, but we're not focused on anything. So take the torch and pull it back. We lose our focus, our life becomes a monotony. Bring it closer, become focused. To some degree, you can't help the varied nature of life, but you can take little things out and put a bit of focus on certain aspects of your life, and that can give you a lot of satisfaction. So remember that boredom is telling you something, and also the boredom is telling you that ultimately you're bored with yourself. If you feel that you're bored all the time with other people, you're actually bored with yourself, because it's not the job of other people to satisfy you. Even your wife or your kids or your friends or whatever, you have to satisfy yourself. You have to find things that you're interested in, and you have to put your energy into those things. Okay? So ultimately, if you're bored with other people, it's telling you you have more capacity. It's also telling you you're bored with something yourself. You have to make changes to your life and take time out, pick a hobby, and find something that you give a damn about. And you can have a deeper, more meaningful life. It's not a question of I'm bored, I need another activity. It's I'm bored, maybe I need another activity, but also I need to maybe go deeper into my activities. So, bit of a complex question, something to have a think about. But definitely go deeper into your life, and you'd be surprised at what amazing things are there that maybe you're not seeing at the moment. So, hopefully you like this video. If you do, give it a like, give it a subscribe. Thanks for dropping by, and have a great day.